Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 50 of Brews Less Traveled 50. This is the podcast exploring the best uncharted beer cities across the U.S. I'm your host, Brian Hatheway, and
I'm your co-host this month, Glenn. Brian, where's Ethan?
Ethan is on assignment this week.
Seriously? I mean, the last I heard from Ethan, he was having a Juicy Lucy at Matt's bar. What assignment is Ethan out on? I don't even know what that means.
Neither do I. But what I do know, Glenn, is that we've got another great episode lined up tonight. We're still exploring the Twin Cities with lots left to cover. But before we get into that, how's your week been, Glenn?
It's been nice. It's been it's becoming more spring-like here in New York City. Been out and about now and again, exploring, expanding my whole idea of maybe getting away from my browns and my porters and my stouts to have some more spring-like beers. Also it's my birthday.
Yes, everybody, please join me in welcoming please join me in wishing Glenn a happy birthday. I just went into guest intro mode there.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. But Ethan's the one who gets to be on assignment, so I'm happy to be here on my birthday.
Yes,
that's how much I care about Brews Less Traveled.
Yes, we're so happy to have you here on your most special of day. Chat is blowing up with the happy birthday. Shout out to everybody in the chat. How yin's doing? Glenn, since you're not going to ask, I'm just going to say my week has been wonderful. The weather also.
Oh yes, how has your week been, Brian?
It's been great. The weather has turned very much spring-like here. It was 70, 80 over the weekend, and it was 80 today. Got out on the river trail yesterday with my family. Got to see the beautiful Allegheny River, which we live near, and we have a beautiful trail that walks alongside of it. And saw Penguins win on Monday night.
It's nice. That's the wonderful of modern technology. That it can be 80 degrees outside, and you still can have ice hockey.
Yes. Let's go, Pens. I will do my best to not get distracted by Game 5 of the Penguins Rangers series, which is going on right now as we speak. But let's get to the show. Tonight we're going to be featuring beers.
Yeah, I thought, isn't this the show? It felt like it was the show to me.
Yeah, it's the show.
You and me were talking, it's the show. Yeah.
It's the show. So tonight we're going to be featuring beers from two breweries from the Twin Cities, Utepils and Modist. We'll be enjoying the Skolsch Kolsch-style ale from Utepils and the Teal Label West Coast IPA from Modist.
Yeah, and I'm happy to say that we'll also be joined by a wonderful guest from Modist, John Donnelly, who's the co-founder and head of sales at Modist. And for our subscribers, you also got a sweet Modist sticker, which Brian is showing you right now. Remember, the best way to support the podcast is by signing up for the Beer Club. The best way to support the podcast is by signing up for the Beer Club at Brewvana.com. And thanks for your support. Before we get to the interview, I really think we need to get into this Skolsch from Utepils.
Yeah, I need a beer. It's beer o'clock. And to throw a reference to Glenn's show, I have a specific glassware tonight.
Excellent.
That
was
going
to say sponsored pour there for a second. They're all sponsored pours here.
So I actually do have a Stonga. I never know the pronunciation of this.
Stonga, like schlong. That's what I read somewhere. I've read a lot of different versions, but rhymes with schlong is one of the ones that I just took to.
That's your mnemonic device, folks. Cheers, Glenn.
Cheers, Brian.
Cheers. I had one of these earlier this week and was very much looking forward to enjoying this beer again. Just a wonderful example of a Kolsch.
Yeah, classic Kolsch.
Let's get some stats. This is, like as we said, the Skolsch from Utepils. It's a 4.9% ABV Kolsch-style ale. And this is directly from Utepils. Quote, Skolsch is a special edition of our bright straw-colored copacetic Kolsch. It is brewed with barley grown near Cologne, Germany, the home of Kolsch. A careful balance of soft malt and light bitterness makes for a very clean, medium light beer that sips easy. Glenn, how you feeling about this?
I think it's like really flavorful. I mean, I love that it's like a sessionable 4.9%. Goes down really easy. But just because it's light bodied doesn't mean doesn't have a wonderful flavor profile. Those classic cologne, the barley. It's one of the best versions of this beers I've had.
Yeah, the malt character is just off the charts on this. It's just so beautiful, and there's so much depth to it, and it's complemented really well by, as the description says, a nice soft bitterness and just a great expression in balance for this beer.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of character to it.
So cool, so good. So Utepils is a really cool brewery. It was actually the second brewery I visited when I was in Minneapolis specifically. The first one is Modist, but we'll get to more in that in a second. Utepils has this giant facility, big beautiful tap room. We'll throw some video up over the video version of this podcast. So shout out to the YouTube subscribers and watchers. But big beautiful tap room. They have the highest brew deck I've ever stood on. I was actually kind of scared being up there. Glenn, when you walk into the back of a brewery, the brew deck is usually a couple steps up, and you're
sure,
5-6 feet over the floor. Not that tall.
Right.
At Utepils, I feel like I was a good 20-25 feet off the ground on their brew deck, looking down into the tap room.
Was there not suitable, like barriers there that is it because it was open air that it caused you a bit of angst?
No, I just really I don't like man-made heights so much.
Okay, so like you had me thinking of this is much higher over the city. I went to the Guinness factory a number of years ago, and that's a big, high, tall building, but it's also enclosed by glass. So there's clearly if it might still induce vertigo if you're so inclined, but it was a wonderful view of Dublin up there. So I hope if you have you ever been there?
I have not. I've been to the one in Baltimore. I've been to their massive U.S. facility that brews like all the Guinness Blonde, but I have not been to St. James Gate.
It's a beautiful view.
I have. I feel like I'm upsetting my Irish heritage too by saying that too, because I am, as far as I know, mostly Irish. So.
Well, Brian, from what I've seen, we don't have a strong, proud heritage. We're far enough generations, but according to my 23andMe profile, I have a big chunk that is British Irish. But I also, I know if you're Irish, you don't mix them together, but that's how they put it on the profile. But I would also say that I think I was maybe close to 40 when I went there. So, you still got time.
Yeah. Good to hear that you used 23andMe and not Ancestry, which was recently sold to a private equity firm.
23andMe probably will too soon.
And probably.
Now that just set off a bidding war, but yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the value of 23andMe just went through the roof. But yeah, I had a very nice time at Utepils. They have a beautiful facility. They brew wonderful beers. And one of those is this, dang it, Ranger scored. One of them is this Skolsch Kolsch-style ale, which I'm just enjoying so much right now.
I really am too, yeah. It's a good one.
But I think it's time to bring on our guest. Glenn, would you like to do the honors tonight?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, please join us in welcoming the co-founder and head of sales at Modist, John Donnelly.
Ooh. Hey, John, how's it going?
Pretty good. Good to see you. Now, I John, it's really great to have you here. I want to start with the name because I know Brian and I have been struggling with this all evening. And Brian lost the struggle at the end of last week's show, but I think we've been doing pretty well because we have it phonetically spelled out in special notes here. And my question is really about the pronunciation. I'm sure you get a lot of pronunciation debates about Modist versus Modist. So what exactly does Modist mean?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, and happy birthday, Glenn.
Thank you.
It is, yeah, it is Modist. It's a play on the word modify. So
Okay.
myself and two of my business partners, they the three of us grew up together just west of Minneapolis, and we were kind of like the skateboard biker kids, and we would build stuff and basically doing that our whole lives. Fast forward 20 years, we moved into South Minneapolis and had a large garage full of half assembled bicycles, motorcycles, cars, you name it. So yeah, that was kind of where and then obviously a whole bunch of homebrew supplies. So
And
yeah.
and you're still kind of living out that name because you have a very special piece of equipment that's used to mash in your modified barley. Oh, pens take the lead.
Yes, we do. We so we are one of a handful of breweries in the country that use what's called a mash filter system. It is basically like when I do my, again, like I'm the head of sales, so I'm not the brewer. I do the sales guy tour. The mash filter works similar to like a French press, where a normal brew house would work like um, similar to like a Mr. Coffee or like a drip coffee filter, where you're putting the ground product, in our case grain, into a false bottom. You put water on top of it, let gravity use the gravity separate the liquid from, or strip the product out, and then the mash filter uses force and pressure, similar to like a French press.
And that results in a significant efficiency increase in the brew house, right? And that means less costs and
Yep.
all that.
Yeah, it's that's one of the reasons that we went with it. The more important reason for us was more about creativity in our recipes, so that we could use basically, because since we're not relying on gravity to the weight of water to separate or to strip out our wort, we are able to use high amounts of wheat, oats. If there's any homebrewers listening, you've probably had a stuck mash once in your life. We do not have stuck mashes because we use compressed air and a series of like air bladders and filter membranes to basically hammer everything through. And then speaking of hammer, we use a hammer mill. So we actually we brew with flour, more or less. We don't use a roller mill. We have a full hammer mill, so we're actually brewing with full flour, which allows it to go through the mash filter correctly and get those efficiencies that you were talking about. So like our mash efficiencies are like in the high 90s, where I think when I was home brewing, terribly, again, I'm the sales guy. You find your niche. Yeah, we were in like the 80s when we were home brewing. So
cool. Now,
That's still pretty good. As a crappy home brewer, I will say 80s
yeah.
is still pretty good.
Yeah, that's what we were shooting for. It's been a while since I've homebrewed.
Yeah, I've yet to start my home brewing, so I'm taking notes every time I hear tips here and there.
Oh man.
Now, John, I'm curious, between your label designs, taproom list, and art in the taproom, there's a lot of beauty to the brand of Modist. What does that art mean to the Modist brand?
Yeah, I mean, probably the easiest thing to point to, as far as modification would be art, visual art. So we use a lot of local artists that we've become really good friends with in both our label design and in the tap room. Like the picture behind you, over your right shoulder is the gentleman named Wes Winship. He's a good friend of ours who we'll call is now a legitimate graffiti artist, or a graffiti artist turned legit. And then the one directly behind your left shoulder with the astronaut getting eaten by an octopus, space octopus or whatever. That's a collective group called Rogue Citizen. They are I think six or seven guys deep now that do a lot of great artwork around the city. So we try to rotate through quite a bit on our can labels and in the tap room itself.
Oh, very good.
Nice. Yeah, I can say, I think when I was there was somebody spray painting above the merch section. So you're adding new art whenever I was there.
Yeah. Yep. And then I think let's see, you were there 2 weeks ago. CBC totally wrecked my brain and my lungs because now I have COVID. But
well, I was there. I think I was there, John. I think I was there 4 or 5 weeks ago, actually.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that definitely wrecked my brain. Yeah. So we've got, that was like leading up to our anniversary, our 6-year anniversary. So we've got several more art. We did a bunch of live art during the party, which we also like to do.
Let's take a beer break and talk about one of the coolest places I visited in St. Paul, the Landmark Center. Originally constructed in 1902 as the federal courthouse and post office for the upper Midwest, the Landmark Center now serves as a cultural center for the St. Paul area after being saved from demolition in the 1970s by a local citizen group. The center is a home for a number of St. Paul-based organizations and includes 2 museums, the Schubert Club Music Museum and the American Association of Woodturners Gallery of Wood Art, in addition to a number of other exhibits and galleries. The interior of this building is absolutely stunning, so check out our Instagram stories for pictures, and the Landmark Center is open to the public. It's free, and you can find more at landmarkcenter.org. Now, let's get back to the show. So I think it's time to get into our second beer. Let's open this Teal Label. John, I'm pretty sure we're doing batch 1 of this beer. Could you tell us about Teal Label and like the story behind this?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we opened the brewery, I'm going to join you with one as well.
Wonderful.
And just like you have your, what do you call it? Stong glass. We have ourselves an IPA glass.
Ooh.
Cheers,
John. Cheers, Glenn. Whenever you catch up.
Cheers. Yeah, I love those glasses. I like tulip glasses. I think they're fitting for every occasion. So yeah, cheers.
Yeah, cheers. So when we opened the brewery, we got when you go to a brewery, you got a concrete floor, you got to seal it up. So we have in our brew house, we have a teal floor. It's actually Benjamin Moore Aruba Blue. For those counting at home, our contractor came to us and was like, "Hey, you can go to Menards or go to Home Depot or wherever and pick out whatever color you want, and we'll make the floor that color." And in Minnesota, no one had done that before. It was always like red or brown or whatever. Yeah, there's a picture of it there. Yeah. And so we're like, let's go loud. Let's go. We went with teal. So teal has worked its way into a lot of our branding and a lot of our stuff. And then when it came time to come up with a new flagship, we kind of wanted to go for that, like kind of that classic branding look that I think Teal Label, the can art really kind of encapsulates, but also kind of, do the modest twist on it. So you have like kind of that Miller High Life, kind of Carling Black Label, kind of Hams, throwback styling with, a nice refreshing West Coast IPA.
And nice is an understatement, John. This is an absolutely wonderful beer.
Thank you.
I think done with some new school stuff. It's a West Coast IPA, but it's brewed with Columbus cryo hops, and it's brewed with Strata, which is most certainly not an old school West Coast hop.
Not at all. No, not exactly. We're really excited about that. The Strata we get is phenomenal hop, and we're mostly known for our New England IPAs. Our original flagship is Dream Yard, and then our other flagship is a pale ale called False Pattern, and it's a New England pale ale. We took kind of those hopping techniques, but also kind of harkened back to the West Coast style of kettle hopping, and Columbus cryo is one of the craziest hops to smell. It's brings me back to Amsterdam.
Yeah, John, we had an episode a couple weeks ago where we talked about the connection between cannabis and hops, and this is exactly what I'm thinking of when I was talking about the very specific. I have COVID brain fog now apparently, and I don't even have COVID. What is it?
Yeah.
Oh my! I'm just completely losing it.
I don't remember this, but you meant I'm going to say a little something about this while you gather your thoughts here. What I like about this one is that it is a little more hop forward than the hazies, but it's hop forward, but it also there's something that mellows it. It's like that smooth and kind of easy drinking within. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the hops are definitely there, but it's a lot more smooth than some of those hop forward West Coast IPAs that are like, "Hello, I'm here. Punch me in the face."
Yeah. It's not overly brutally bitter. It's not back when I got into home brewing and into IPAs, it was the IBU wars. Like McKellar was coming out with like 1,000 IBU, and sure. There's a great brewery here locally called Steel Toe. Size 7 is the beer, and it's a phenomenal West Coast IPA, but 70 IBUs was like entry level at that point.
Yeah. I remember the days of Pallet Wrecker and 90 Minute.
That's the one.
Well, I think of like the entire Stone series of Drink By was like everyone was like a bigger challenge to like, I dare you to not pucker when you have this.
Right. What was the other one? Stone one, the sublime and self-righteous or something like that.
Yeah, or the arrogant bastard was one of theirs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ruination was like 100 IBU 9% beer, which that was definitely a beer that made me fall in love with like super bitter. The word I was looking for is a specific type of mercaptan that creates that quote unquote dank smell. And,
that's right.
Definitely getting it on this one. Very dank.
Yes. Yeah, very dank.
A prevailing dankness, if you will.
That Columbus Cryo is and Simcoe also is very dank hop. I think that's kind of one of those underlying ones, but everyone's got Citra and something, and those are always great hops.
Well, everybody knows that the Citra Mosaic, like that's the secret to a great, secret. You want to make a great New England IPA, just throw Citra and Mosaic at it.
It's the pepperoni and sausage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the sausage and onion combo for you, which I think is the best pizza combo. We'll get into that another day. But don't sleep, people at home, on Simcoe Strata. That is a killer combination, and you're going to see a lot more Strata in the industry. That's somewhat of a new hop. I think 2 years on the market. And,
that sounds all right.
It is just phenomenal.
Yeah, with CBC in town last week, we got a whole bunch of just hop providers I hadn't even heard of come through the brewery, and there was this guys called New Zealand hops from New Zealand, and they had one called I think it was called like Nectaron or something like that. It's like, that's a cool name.
Nectaron.
Yeah.
Nectaron. It's like, that sounds awesome. Send me samples immediately.
It sounds like the newest Avenger there.
Right, exactly.
Welcome, Nectaron.
With the power of fruit juice.
Yes. And his sidekick, Vitamin C. So now, John, one thing I don't want to get too sidetracked with all of this, but I have heard some stories because, it's fascinating. A lot of breweries have various stories about celebrity visitation. And I heard that at some point, Brenden Fraser actually visited Modist, and there he is. This looks like a fairly recent photo, even though it's a fairly recent photo and not a recent reference in the description. So I want to know more about that story.
Okay, so how do I put this? That is fake news. Is that
it is?
Yeah. So
I set you up, Glenn. Sorry.
As a prank, one of our sales guys put that up. Actually, not that specific photo, but another photo in the tap room, or like in the tap room vestibule, right when you walk in, and like everybody walked past it, and we're like, wait, is Brenden Fraser here? Right? And we were all talking amongst ourselves, like, when was Brenden Fraser here? No one called us. The guy from The Mummy was here. What the? Are you serious?
Which recently, I had a lot of friends recently who posted a thing on Instagram saying, it's been 20 some years.
Yeah,
they're big fans of The Mummy.
Exactly. It's a great movie. I recently watched it. Still holds up. And then the best part is, so that's this, I think that's either the second or the third one that guy has put up because it keeps getting stolen from the tap room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So people keep like walking in and stealing it at Saturday night at whatever. So
well, I think it's good that
we're
we're
keep doing it.
Yeah, I think it's good that we're pushing this even further because maybe word will get to him and things like I've got to visit Modist to make this fake story real.
Right, exactly.
Oh
man,
so we know that the
collab.
guy who was in School Ties. That's actually my first remembrance of him was I think I saw that movie long before there was a bit trailer of it where he was a kid in a prep school who was Jewish and that was his deep dark secret and then once they found out, they all treated him. There's a scene of him in the rain where he's just looking up at all the looking, cowards.
I don't think I've seen that movie, but I've seen that on a YouTube.
You've seen the clip,
reel.
Yeah.
I've seen it on like a best of Brenden Fraser reel,
yeah.
for sure. I'm an Encino man, my friend.
Yeah,
myself.
well, I mean, it was no monkey bone, but
true. That's true. There'll never be another.
No,
hopefully.
I just love because I was one of those people when John, you were very gracious and hospitable when I came, and we had a very long talk and drank beers, and that was wonderful. And then I saw the Brenden Fraser, and I was like, oh shit, Brenden Fraser's been here. That's really cool. And I just love to find out that it's a fake picture, number one. And number two, the people have stolen the fake picture multiple times.
Yes.
Just wonderful.
I'd like to think someone's going to eventually, the inscription's going to read Dudley Do Right.
Right. All right.
Or George of the Jungle,
George of the Jungle. Or Bedazzled with Elizabeth Hurley.
Yes, the remake of the Dudley Moore Peter Cook film.
That's right.
The Mummy Returns. I was just trying to make another Brenden Fraser movie reference. The Scorpion King. No, he's not in that one. Shit.
No.
Isn't he?
That's when the Rock takes over.
I think I only saw the first one.
Yeah.
that was the coming out party of The Rock as like I'm no longer just an actor or I'm no longer just a wrestler. I'm an actor now, and look where he is now.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I could remember the name of the one where he was in a time capsule and his parents were Christopher Walken and Sissy Spacek, but I'm blanking on it now.
The Rock or Brenden Fraser?
Oh, Brenden Fraser. Yeah, it was the whole thing was he was like the deal was he'd been in a time capsule and he thought that there'd been a nuclear thing because his parents had lied to him, and then all of a sudden he gets to discover that there's a
shout out to Matt P in the chat.
Yep.
Oh, we got
from
it?
The past. Yeah.
Blast from the past. Okay. Yeah.
That boy, Matt P.
Yes.
So, John, I did have a wrap-up question, but before we get to that, I actually did want to talk because I visited and hung out with you and a bunch of other people that like you introduced me to like 10 people, and like I immediately forgot all their names. To the folks at home, here's a nice mnemonic device that I use when I'm trying to remember people's names. As they're talking in my head, I'll go, okay, that's John, that's John, that's John. Okay, that's Pete. That's Pete. That's Ryan. That's Ryan. But just don't like move your mouth while you're doing that. Otherwise, people are going to think you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
Keep that one for you. And I actually came back. I came back a couple days later on Saturday before I left town to have a couple more beers, and it was during a Twins game, and it was mobbed in there. So we want to talk a little bit about what it's like to be literally steps from the Twins stadium.
Certainly. I mean, we when we were looking for locations, Twins Stadium wasn't really on our radar, but we were looking through like that neighborhood was called the Warehouse District. Obviously, the warehouse is for a brewery, we just the Twin Stadium was built in 2010, I believe it was, and we moved into to our building in 2015 to start build out, and it was like immediately like from the patio you can see the Budweiser sign, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So we just every Twins game, we open 2 hours before every game. Even if it's a noon game, we'll open up at 10 a.m. We have a coffee beer to get you started for the day. And then it's wild. We just get slammed pregame and postgame. If you're coming down to actually like talk beer and check out the brewery, go when the game is on. So like just check out the actual time. Like 10 minutes before the game starts, the whole place clears out. It's nice and cozy again, and then post game we get hammered again.
Yeah. I was there during a game, and it was still pretty busy. Most of the seats were filled.
We got two visits out of you. That's a high praise, man. Thank you.
I very much enjoyed the beer, John, and I definitely came back to get beer. But
Nice.
my first visit, I maybe drank a little too much, and I didn't take the pictures that I was supposed to, so I kind of had to come back.
I am a professional enabler, sir.
That's fine. Enable me, please. That was great. No, I came back. I had some Teal Label. I had more of that Czech Pilsner, which was just phenomenal. And I tried your Cold IPA.
Nice.
For as much, I haven't done it yet on this podcast, but I have talked some smack on the concept of Cold IPAs in other circles, and I very much enjoyed yours. It was very good.
Wow. Thank you. That's great. I'm glad.
So, final question, John, before we wrap up here. What is one thing that you wish Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities were more known for? We talked a lot about beer, but what do you wish the city was more well known for?
Well, actually, a lot of stuff that I was listening to people talk about during CBC, people coming in from other breweries and stuff, was that they were surprised at how much of a food scene we have in Minneapolis. We have a lot of great restaurants, and they're constantly evolving and constantly getting better. There's a lot of James Beard nominees, a lot of James Beard winners and things like that. We have a very, very not underwhelming, but underappreciated food scene. We're probably most known for like Juicy Lucy's and stuff like that, which are
I just learned out of that tonight, looking at like doing my research on you and the other brewery, and seeing the food trucks. I'm like, what's a Juicy Lucy? And it is essentially, make sure I have this right, this is a cheeseburger basically, but instead of topping it, it is a burger stuffed with cheese. Exactly.
It is a stuffed burger. There's I'm not sure exactly how to make it because I just don't want to mess up with a good thing. But it's basically a cheeseburger with the kind of the reverse. The meat is stuffed with cheese. There's like kind of a hierarchy of people that do it. So the original is Matt's Bar. It's like, basic meat and like American cheese on the flat top, cheaper bun, but it's like business. It's like it's there every time. It's consistent. It's awesome. And then there's like a couple other restaurants that will like. There's a place called the Blue Door Pub that makes phenomenal Lucy's that are like herb goat cheese with like raspberry jam and like honey spread on the top of the bun. It's like they'll just elevate it and take it up another notch. It's pretty amazing.
I'd like since Ethan's not able to be here, I was asking about this early tonight in text form. Even Simon, he still responded. That's how dedicated Ethan is. And here's his description of a Juicy Lucy: is the cheese oozes everywhere in the least ideal way. It's great.
Yep. Here's the key: eat half the fries first, and then get into the burger, because the burger is hot lava. When you bite into it, it will straight up scorch your mouth, and you won't be able to taste anything for a week.
All right.
Pro tip there. Yeah.
Pro tip.
Steven in the chat asked, "What is a cold IPA?" Do you want to take that? I could explain it, but it might have some snark to it.
Snark away. Snark away.
Do I have a good description for it? It's basically an IPL that they want to call an IPA because it's hopped and brewed more similarly to an IPA, although it's fermented with lager yeast and gets a cold conditioning. Right?
Yes.
Nailed it. Right. So interesting that we're talking about that at a night we have a Kolsch, which itself has some hybrid qualities to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kolsch is in some ways are lagerish as well, even though they're basically ales, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
ale yeast fermented at colder temperatures, but then gets a long cold conditioning period
Right.
that you would call
Yep.
a lagering
Lager.
phase.
I keep ending
yeah.
my sentences with right because I'm still learning these things. I'm not. I want to learn and I'm getting it. But did I read that right? You guys are brewers. You know these things.
Yeah.
Glenn, I end every sentence with an ellipses or a yeah. So like you're
All right.
not coming
Yeah.
onto the podcast for linguistic experts. That is
Excellent.
for sure.
Thank you for making me for justifying whatever. Thank you for making me feel comfortable, I think is what I'm saying. I was already comfortable, but thank you for making me feel more comfortable.
Well, it's your birthday. That's all I could do for you.
Well.
That's the least I could do for you. I got you these great beers and this great conversation.
they're fantastic.
So John, thanks a ton for joining us, especially
absolutely.
considering the circumstances. Where can people find Modist beers? Where can people find more out about Modist?
Well, our website, modistbrewing.com. We're on, all the social medias at Modist Brewing. Instagram is probably the best place to get a hold of us, or see what we're doing. Facebook as well. And then we are distributed throughout all of Minnesota. We're self-distributed all through Minnesota, and then we're distributed through Iowa and Wisconsin, and then New York City. We're also there, and then working on a few other places in 2022, and we're also on Tavour, so you can find us on there.
Excellent. Well, I'll mention, I know we've gotten some of the great St. Paul and Minneapolis beers here in New York. I'll look for this one as well.
Yeah, and I saw Scotty on the chat where I'm working on Illinois. I'm going to be sending out some beer in June, so keep an eye out for that.
Very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, one final question. What would you pair with a Lucy?
What would I pair with a Lucy? Man, probably a nice hams.
My man.
Hams, or if you're on the East Coast, Narragansett, or if you're on the West Coast, what's the West Coast regional lager?
PBR,
or just a PBR.
Rainier.
Like it would be like
Rainier, Olympia.
Yeah,
just your regional, bulk lager. That's kind of where I'm at. Basically anything. Nothing. No wine. Probably not wine.
Explicitly no wine.
Explicitly not wine.
Probably a Pilsner or a light lager.
Yeah, I would do that. I would do the lager. Something cold to counteract the lava cheese that you're about to ingest.
Yeah, it burned your mouth and just cool it down with a.
Thank you, Stephen. Stephen mentioned Yingling. That was the thing that was on the tip of my tongue. I wanted to mention, but yes. I think Yingling is probably a very good choice.
Yingling's expensive. That's like $25 a case. We drink iron here.
So in Pittsburgh, American. Yingling is expensive.
I mean,
wait, isn't it brewed in PA?
It's $25. It's $25. No, it's brewed Eastern PA, Pottstown, PA, Pottsville. Oh. I always forget.
The weird thing is in New York, when you go to a happy hour and they have they say happy hour for select beers, they'll have a bunch of the macro beers, and they'll either the one that they'll add onto that list is always either Yingling or Rolling Rock.
Green Death.
Well, yes. Rolling Rock is, to get into some more Yins or Southwestern PA talk, Rolling Rock is most certainly a macro beer now. It was purchased by Anheuser-Busch 2011, 2013, and has been brewed in New Jersey ever since. So
I guess what I mean is both Rolling Rock and Yingling seem to be sold to bars at a fairly cheap rate.
Yeah,
because
but I mean, we're talking...
they'll put it on their cheap beer list, like, okay, we have happy hour, but only for beer that is not great. And Yingling is on that list of beers that is, very good with a Juicy Lucy. Sure, it's. I now I feel like I'm starting to spill over into beer snob territory, which I'm not. But
well,
I'll have these beers.
I will bring the level down for all of us, and I'm going to continue watching the hockey game after this podcast, and I'm going to drink a number of Iron City Lights. So I will bring the bar down for all of us. And well, huge thanks to John for joining us. And,
thanks so much, John.
Thank you guys for having us, or for having me.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your hospitality when I came to visit. It was a great way to kick off my visit to the Twin Cities, and I had so much fun. And I lied. I do remember someone else's name there. Ryan was the sales rep that you introduced me to.
Yeah, he's our Wisconsin guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, heck yeah.
There we go. Right that one came to me. So thanks to Modist for the Teal Label. Thanks to Utepils for the Skolsch. thanks to Glenn for co-hosting. Happy birthday, Glenn. You got birthday plans tonight.
Thank you, Brian. I actually, these are my birthday plans for tonight. So we'll see how the rest of the night works out. I'm improvising it.
We're glad we could be part
Who knows?
of you celebrating.
Maybe I'll start watching the. I'm actually almost 2 seasons into The Affair, but I understand that Brenden Fraser eventually shows up on it. So that'll bring everything full circle.
That's right.
Very topical. That's a callback. Well, that's a callback. You can find more from Utepils at utepilsbrewing.com, and as John mentioned, you can find more from Modist at modistbrewing.com.
And you can find more about Brenden Fraser on IMDb.
Yeah. If you like the show and want to try some awesome beers from small breweries across the country, head over to brewvana.com and sign up for the beer club. That's the best way you can support this podcast. If you want to keep listening to this, head over to brewvana.com and join the beer club, and you can get great beers just like these shipped directly to your doorstep. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Untapped at Brewvana. We'll be back next week, where I'll actually be broadcasting from a secret, undisclosed location in pursuit of the next Brews Less Traveled feature city. And we'll be joined by a wonderful guest from the great brewery of Fair State, and we'll be drinking 2 beers from Fair State. But until then, stay safe, be kind, and support your local breweries, everybody. Cheers.
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 Thanks for watching Brews Less Traveled on YouTube. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interviews with brewery professionals.